You clicked it?
Yes,
What's
sir. What's up, bud?
How you doing, man? So listen, we're gonna get right into it because we only got a few. I want to let you know. Okay, so when you first came out with your book, Crush It,
Yes.
right? I was in prison. I did 10 years in prison. And I think it was around 2009 or 2010 when I found your book. They actually have like little things that you can purchase books from. And I
Okay.
saw your book, and I just read the outline and I bought the book because I was I was doing everything to prepare for my time to go home. So I knew the internet was a big thing and I wanted to get to know about it, right? So I had read about you in an article somewhere and I bought the book. So I read the book and that book really you know, I really dig that book. You know what I'm saying? And it definitely it made me
Hit you?
it hit me because I really didn't know the internet. I was in jail the whole time. You know what I'm saying? After that, after your book, I mean, when I read it, it made me see about creating your own content, about being your own brand, about just making content that's true to yourself. You know what I'm saying? And one of the main things that I got from you was just caring about, you know, about what the other people, the people that your customers, right?
Yes.
So, and since I did that bid, I read two more books. I read Jab 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 Right Hook, and I read
Yep.
Ask Gary V. I thought Jab 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 Right Hook was a really good book.
Good.
And when I ccame home, those books gave me insight on the internet, right? So I had no idea what the hell I was doing with the internet, but I had a book and I had all these notes with what I took from your book, and I've been implementing it, right? So even to this day, I don't really it's in the back of my head, just creating content that's gonna fit within the
The
place
platform.
and the platform and all that, and those things are instrumental to what I do now. And I'm not saying I'm the biggest dude, but
Oh, you're
I've
making,
come.
but you're making shit happen, bro. Like, you know how hard it is to get to even the place you're at right now.
I'm
Like,
trying my best. I'm trying my best.
you're succeeding, and it's because you figured it out. And man, you can't even imagine listening to those words. Like, how much happiness my heart's filling up with. Thank you so much for starting this call with that.
Yeah, I wanted to tell you that because that's how I learned about you, and I know I put a lot of people in prison on to your books and stuff like that, and people like that, we don't have internet, and those books really help us understand what's going on out here. And I want to start the call with thanking you. So I have a few questions, like me as an artist, right? And
Yep.
I've making leeway, I'm making headway, and I've done a lot. Like, what type of suggestions would you have for me?
Well, let's work backwards. At this point, because you've made certain things already happen, what are short and long term goals? Like, like what would you like to happen?
Well, I just want to keep on doing what I'm doing, but I want to do it bigger. Like, you know what I'm
That
saying?
makes sense.
Like, I wanna just do it in a bigger sense and just cast my net wider and just
So,
keep on crushing it.
couple things you'll like this. Like, it's kind of like working out or like eating properly. Like, ironically, not a lot changes. It just becomes, you're getting the results of putting out the work. Literally, you're one day away from a video or a piece of content really changing the outcome of the growth. But the reality is, even if you don't have something go bananas, the reality is that one, two, three pieces of content a day keeps putting another block, another block, another block, right? Like, the way you get a real muscular body is by putting work in the gym every single day. There is no shortcut. So let me ask you this: how often are you posting on Instagram?
I post like 2-3 times a day.
So to me, one of the things to just debate is it four, right? Like, is it actually just four? Because the reality is, for me, it's four, by the way. That's my number. And, I always think about, should it be five? Like, so that to me is one place where, to answer your question directly, you can get bigger by putting out more content. The other question becomes, what other things are you putting out? So where are you? Obviously, I see what you're doing on Instagram. Where are you when it comes to LinkedIn or Twitter or podcasts or things of that nature? Where are you on that?
Well, I'm where I'm at is Instagram and YouTube. Hello.
Yeah, sorry,
Yeah,
alarm went off. Go ahead.
where I'm at is at Instagram and YouTube. But see, me being, I didn't grow up using this stuff, so just me handling Instagram alone is like it's crazy for me, right? And Instagram and YouTube, and I come from prison, so we're not used to like really opening ourselves up like
I
that.
get it.
So
I
for me to
get it.
even do this much is a
I
lot.
get
You
it.
know what I mean?
You know,
And
you know what's funny? You'll appreciate this. I was born in Russia, right, and grew up in a household with two parents that lived their entire life in Russia, and like the last thing you do in communism is share. So I understand the concept of, even for me, like it was a process as an extrovert. Like it was a process. But the reality is you're doing it, right? Like what's cool about you for me and the way you're talking right now is when, but I'm from prison. I didn't grow up with this stuff. We don't share, is normally what people say when they're not doing anything. The fact that you're already doing, now it's just chipping away daily. Like, listen, you need to be doing Twitter. I'm telling you right to your face. It's going to work for you and your style of content. Like, I honestly think you should be putting out content on LinkedIn about one thing specifically: how to be successful when people re-enter the world from prison, and how companies can be using those. That level of adversity is actually a remarkable advantage if it's manifested properly, right? So I think there's places that you have permission to go to that I can't go to. I can't, from a first party point of view, talk about what it's like or what my thoughts are. I don't have enough context about what's happening in that system. So the answer to your question is more, 4 times a day on Instagram and Twitter. And I know you didn't grow up using it, but you figured out how to use Instagram. You're going to figure out how to use Twitter. You're going to figure out how to post on LinkedIn. That's just real. That's who you are. You've already proven it.
That's and that's good. That's good. I mean, all right. So one more thing, right?
Please.
People that's coming from like not just prison, but like places like that. People that's coming from prison, adversity, right? What would you suggest for people like that? People that just feel like the world is just like against them, and every time they try, they just run into a wall. And because that was me for a long time. Like every decision I made, I ran into a wall. I ran into a wall. I ran into a wall. I fell. Everybody gave up on me. You know what I'm saying? What type of advice, or what would you say to people like that that's just just trying to find their way?
A couple of things come to mind. Number one, people have to flip the script. So one of the reasons a lot of people hit adversity time and time again is, number one, they want shit too fast. And even the way you just reacted in your face, it just hit me, because I'm like, he knows, because you lived it. You lived it. People want success too fast. They want to close their insecurity fast, so they want to show they're flashing, they're successful, so they get caught up in shit. Caught up in blue collar, white collar crimes. I'm seeing all sorts. This has been a crazy week for me. People embezzling money, people doing dumb shit, like all sorts of stuff going on in my world. And I'm just like, man, people just want shit too fast. And then it gets them into bad. So number one, straight up, if you're listening right now, like, do you want to be successful too fast because you want to prove to everybody that you can make it? Now you're putting yourself in a bad spot. You're cutting corners. You're cheating. You're just like in a bad mind place. That's number one. Number two, and this is what I did. Mine's a little bit different, because I was always kind of patient, because I really didn't give a fuck about what other people thought, which was really the framework. But to me, what I'm trying to figure out, and I don't have the answer to this yet, but I like adversity. I don't know what else to say. Like, I really like losing. I like when people think I'm dumb. I like when people think it's stupid or I'm wrong, or like when one of my side businesses fails, they laugh at it. I've turned it into kind of like this twisted thing where like the adversity is exciting to me. Like I'm weird. I am. Like, I like when people write me off or I can't. Like, I thrive on that. And so I think that's because I actually don't care about what other people think. So like I'm trying to figure out how to get people to see that, which is, if you fail, like your side hustle fails, your business fails, your rap career fails, your basketball career fails, your relationship fails, if it fails, you're upset about that. But what most people get caught up in is they're more upset about what people are saying about their failure than what they actually feel about that failure.
That's real.
It is fucking real. And so, like, how to get people to think about that? Like, I'm just trying to get people to understand, like, nobody else's opinion matters, because straight up, they fucking suck at something else too. When people laugh at me or clown on me or underestimate me, I'm always saying to myself, I'm like, but you're not good at that, or you're not good at this. Like, everybody sucks at something. And so I don't put I put no other man's words above my own.
That's dope.
Now, what's interesting is, I had an interesting childhood in the fact that what I think my mom did incredibly well was she loved me and built self-esteem, which is a big factor here. But I also think another thing is, I don't think the world owes me anything. Like, I expect.
That is so big right there. That's big. I heard you say that before, and that's big, because I feel like a lot of people coming from prison, coming from places like that, they feel like people owe them something. And I feel like that's one of the main reasons why they recidivate. You know what I'm saying? They go back to prison, or they go back to doing something, because they have this bitterness that they feel like somebody owes them something. People don't owe you shit. You know what I'm saying? People don't owe you nothing, and you owe it to yourself for you to get whatever you got. So a lot of people be feeling like, oh, I'm such a gangster. I did this. I didn't snitch on nobody. I was in prison and I did this. I held my head tall. That's perfect. That's like, kudos to you. Like, that's stand up, and being a stand up man is your foundation, and that's great. But nobody owes you for that. You know what I'm saying? Like,
man, you said something real important. Both my grandfathers spent significant time in Russia, right? And my mom's dad, my grandfather, spent 10 years in jail. And
wow.
and straight up, like, he didn't snitch anybody out, right? And I never really got to know him. Like, I did know him, but I was too young. I was 1, 2, and I left when I was 3, so I don't remember him. But my pops is like this too, from the old country. Like snitching someone out is just completely unacceptable, like completely. And if you got to go to prison for a couple of years, like, that's what you do. However, as I've grown up in that Eastern European, like, hood kind of system as a kid, there was always 2 different people I saw, my uncles and my Russian friends and all these dudes that had tattoos that came from prison. Everybody was in fucking prison if you were Jewish in Russia. And there was 2 things. There was the guys, just like you said, who, when they came out, they expected everybody who they didn't snitch on to put them on forever. And the other guys who came, that was their pride. They didn't expect anybody else. And the difference in the last 30 years are remarkable.
Yeah, I kind of lost you a little bit. Are you there? I kind
I'm
of
still
lost
here.
you a little bit. Can you hear me? You said you were talking about the
video cut off for a second.
Yeah, can you hear me?
I can hear you well.
Hello? Yeah, you're breaking up a little bit. So basically, you were saying, hello? Yo, Gary.
I can hear you, bro. I'm staying on.
So basically, you were saying that people were snitching, and some people felt like